now. Thank you very much to everyone who's joined so far. Please could we all just note that this webinar is being recorded, so we can then send out the recording to you all afterwards, so you can watch it back later if you want. My name is Anna, and I'm part of the inquiries team here at the Oxford College of Marketing. And today our webinar will be on sustainability and PR, hosted by Kalust Manukian. We'll have the presentation from Kalust first, and then we'll have some time for questions at the end. Kalust has over 15 years of experience in marketing and communications. He's also one of our tutors here. Recently, he has developed 2 sustainability-centric courses for us, so a CIPR specialist diploma in sustainability and a CIM marketing sustainability diploma as well. So we're in really good hands for today. So Kalust, I will hand over to you now to take us into sustainability.
Thank you, Anna. Hi, everyone, and thank you very much for joining us today. As we know, the topic for today is sustainability and CSR for PR professionals. Of course, sustainability on its own is a huge topic. Actually, the more I've been working on this through developing courses, the more it grows. It's going to be, I envisage, a very, very prominent topic in marketing, in PR, in business overall. So let's see how much we can actually cover within 1 hour. I promise I'll allow probably about 10 minutes at the end for questions as well. This is what we will cover. Why do we need to care about sustainability? The concept of it is quite broad. What is corporate social responsibility? How is that different from ESG, environmental, social, and governance as a concept? We will look at the role of PR in particular within driving sustainability. We will need to look into greenwashing as well. And finally, we will finish with how United Nations have tried to actually structure sustainability in just 17 goals that can potentially provide sort of a framework that the businesses can follow, because as we said, you can easily get lost in the process of trying to be sustainable. So what is the issue? As we realize more and more, there is a physical limit to consumption. Up to now, consumerism driven by large corporations, by small companies, have led us to a moment where we can now realize what the physical limits of our planet are. We can only function within these. And so far, the economic frameworks that has driven the world have not really benefited everyone equally, which is a different problem. And they have done it in a way which in the long term will not be sustainable, basically. As we know, the global population keeps growing, and economic growth and consumption just will need to change in terms of the way we think about what growth is, the way we think what profitability is. So quite a big area of developing sustainable businesses in the future will be clearly in reshaping and changing the way we think about doing business. A bit more on what the problem is. As we can see here of this graph, what we have in green is biocapacity. That's the extent to which our environment can produce resources and absorb the waste that we create. Ecological footprint is the use of resources and, for example, our carbon emission, our output of wastes. And as we can see from the graph, in the 1970s, human population surpassed the biocapacity of the Earth. This is almost like if you look at your monthly salary and running out of the money for the month that you have on the 10th of the month, and basically borrowing for the rest of the month. This is how we can simply illustrate this. So that's how we currently operate. So in that context, what is sustainability as a definition? The simple dictionary definition is the ability to be sustained, supported, upheld, and confirmed. Generally, sustainability has three directions in which it goes. Of course, quite often we focus more on the ecological side of it. In reality, sustainability covers these three main areas: the environment, of course, the social aspect of it, and the economic aspect of it. When these three overlap, this is where we have sustainable environment or a sustainable business. From simple business perspective, that would mean that a company should not only think about their environmental footprint, their carbon emissions, they need to also think how they are profitable, but also they need to think about what about the social impact, how they treat their employees, how certain communities around the world might be impacted by their operation. You might have a coffee company in the UK delivering coffee pots and coffee beans to households. However, the impact of the operations of this company can be felt in the countries where coffee as a raw material comes from. So how responsible is this organization in terms of the communities in South America, different African countries, or parts of Asia where coffee mostly comes? This just shows how broad sustainability is as a concept. Hence, the more you focus on it, the more you unpack, you just start realizing how interdependent different elements of it are, and how changes in one section of the business can impact other section of the business and whole communities, for example. And for me, one of the most important aspects of understanding sustainability is that it requires shift in thinking. We should not think about sustainability as, okay, we will either be a sustainable business or we will be more profitable business. This is wrong as thinking from the start. The reality is that organizations need to identify ways in which they can be sustainable and profitable at the same time. That way, businesses, directors, they would not need to face this compromise of, okay, we'll try to do the right thing, but then we'll need to sacrifice profit. On the other hand, organizations that are sustainable and want to grow sustainably, the only way for them to achieve that is to be profitable as well. Because if they're not profitable, they will not be able to function. Hence, we need to really find the balance between doing the right thing and doing it right at the same time. So if we look more into the definition of sustainability and how we came about, the world has gone quite a long way from where it started. Of course, sustainability has always been a present issue in humanity in different parts of the world. However, where we are at now in the context of sustainability has been mostly impacted by the Brundtland report developed in 1987. Work on sustainability has been done before that, but this report managed to put sustainability as a prominent topic in the eyes of politicians. And this is where our understanding of sustainability has been formed. And quite a lot of the changes that we have achieved so far, or what we are trying to achieve, can be linked back to this Our Common Future report. It kind of managed to put a different perspective on the issue, highlight the codependencies between governments, consumers, and companies, highlight the common responsibility. Basically, the idea that we all live in this one world and we have just one of it. And it might be a cliche, but in that context, yeah, we do not have a plan B. And the definition within that report is on the economy is sustainable if it meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of the future generations to meet their own needs. It basically shapes sustainability as a long-term vision and highlights that whatever we do now will basically define our future. And as we said, sustainability can be quite a broad issue. It covers many different topics, and the understanding of what the meaning of sustainability is, or maybe what the most important part of sustainability is, actually varies if you go around the world. There will be different ideas of what's important. A recent research, for example, indicates that in North America, consumers, when thinking about sustainability, mostly think about recycling. In Europe, the Middle East, and Africa, it's more about fair trade, paying the fair price to farmers or employees or workers. In Latin America, it's about energy and the sources of energy. In the Asian Pacific, it's mostly about the environment. If we think about that from communications and marketing perspective, understanding how people actually think our communication tactics. So there are many frameworks that help us make sense and understand sustainability. One of the most prominent among these has been the CSR, so the corporate social responsibility. The definition of corporate social responsibility is a self-regulating business model where companies are more conscious of the impact they are having on the wider society. And it may include the environment, the economy, and people within society. So this clearly, you can see how this stems from the three pillars of sustainability that we discussed: environment, economy, and what we had here, social, environment, and economic aspects. So corporate social responsibility is almost a way for companies to try to give back to society, to the world. Our companies manage to be profitable, so they see that that their role within societies expands, so they need to give back. Actually, we can link back CSR as a concept back, for example, to 1,700 years before Christ, where a Mesopotamian king kept builders, innkeepers, or farmers responsible for the quality of their work. Examples of CSR activities might be a company trying to reduce its carbon footprint, or improving labor policies. So that looks completely different direction in terms of HR and how to keep our members of staff, employees happy. It can look into participating in fair trade or charitable giving, volunteering in the community, corporate policies to benefit the environment, or social and environmentally conscious investments. Usually, these sort of policies or activities or plans are summarized in annual report, corporate social responsibility report. Here on the right, you can see an example from Nestle from 2021. And while this is a good step towards doing the right thing, towards putting sustainability in the center of what we are trying to achieve, there are certain limitations. Firstly, there is no standard for what CSR is, and there is no standard on how companies report on it. So clearly, companies can be cherry picking what they include in these CSRs and what to kind of keep away. And the lack of standards and the lack of central authority managing this, again, it creates a lot of gray areas. Quite often as well, these CSR reports are used as a PR tool just to raise the profile of the organization. And as there is more demand from society for companies to be greener or more fair, more sustainable in general, you can see how this approach can be abused. Another important limitation of CSR as a concept is that it doesn't look at the overall operations of the organization, which means that the core strategy of the business or the organization can actually have a harmful effect on the environment, on society, on the global economy. However, the same organization may have a CSR report which highlights a few positive activities and impacts. Yeah, but these positive activities, they do not cancel all the harm done by the organization. It just shifts the focus. It's almost as companies would do that to basically buy their way into changing their brand perception and making them appear as they have positive impact when then their core business has a negative impact on the environment. So you can see the issue with corporate social responsibility. Of course, a few examples of companies trying to do good. We have IKEA. IKEA have one of the most sustainable supply chains as they manufacture physical products. Their supply chain plays a vital role in their potential future sustainable development. For example, 50% of their wood is coming from sustainable forests. 100% of the cotton that they use is certified with the Better Cotton Standards certification. They also use a lot of solar energy, so they are going towards carbon neutral future. Disney is committed to reducing their hard carbon footprint in their 2020 CSR report with goals for net zero greenhouse gas emissions, zero waste, and commitment to conserving water. This is all great. However, in the case of Disney, as an example, commitment doesn't mean much. Anyone can commit to basically try to do their best and hope to achieve it in 10, 20, 30 years. What we face with sustainability is the need to act now, not in 10 years, not in 20 years, but to make changes now. So I think it's very important when we look at the companies and what they report on is to being able to look through the pure statements and actually see what they have actually done, what they have achieved, how they have changed, because just commitments is not enough. And I believe that modern consumers can see through that. They can see and they can judge companies based on what they're already doing, because commitment, especially very long-term commitments, without a regular reporting on the achievements throughout this process is just not good enough. Something that has been on the news in the last month is Patagonia as a brand, a clothing brand. And from the very start of as an organization, as a clothing business, Patagonia has been dedicated to sustainability. They've been a leader in actually shaping our understanding of what sustainable business is and what corporate social responsibility is. And they have been going in several directions. Firstly, they have been managing their supply chain. So they are using wherever possible organic raw materials. They recycle whatever they can. They have also actually been donating part of their profits, which not part of their revenue, but part of their profits. And even in their communication strategies, they have been focused on not making people just buy more for the sake of buying, but for example, focusing on quality. So buy less, but buy quality material. If you go on their website, you can see articles on how you can actually fix your coat, fix your jacket instead of buying a new one. And they stimulate actually people, they educate the market on the fact that before you go and buy something, think about, can I fix it? And this repair and fix trend is a growing consumer trend. And Patagonia have been one of the brands really pushing in that direction. And just about a month ago, I believe, they did the next step, where they defined the planet Earth as their only shareholder. And a statement here from the CEO of the company: if we have any hope of a thriving planet, much less a business, it is going to take all of us doing what we can with the resources we have. This is what we can do. So the company is fully committed and basically reinvesting all their profits into sustainable projects around the world, and also making their business fully sustainable, which in the case of clothes and fashion might mean circular economy. We don't really have time today to discuss circular economy because that can be a whole module on its own, but it's basically running a business in a way where no raw material and no energy is wasted. So you are fully sustainable. Of course, when we think about PR and when we think about sustainability, we need to think about, okay, what do customers think about it? And a lot of research shows that there is a general trend towards customers being interested in companies that are focused on sustainability. So 1 in 10 consumers are loyal to brands that are committed to charitable donation, of course, in different areas, different sectors of sustainability. 68% of online consumers in the US and the UK would or might shop using brands because might stop basically buying from brands because of poor or misleading CSR. 84% say a poor environmental track record would cause them to stop buying from a brand. 43% are willing to pay premium for socially conscious and environmentally friendly brands. Of course, right now, we discuss this in a very volatile situation with a lot of economic pressures, with raising inflation, raising energy costs. And yes, people may right now not be fully focused on that. However, in the long term, all market research and all indicators basically show that the role of sustainability in product choices, service choices will be just growing, and businesses that are actually leading the path in that would probably benefit in the long term. So the idea is, do not wait for sustainability, but actually focus on it now. So when regulations change, when customers' habits and preferences are very well established, these companies will be in the right place. The other topic that tends to lead sustainability is ESG, environmental, social, and governance. This refers to a collection of corporate performance indicators that assess the robustness of companies' governance mechanisms and the ability to effectively manage its environmental and social impacts. ESG looks into the environmental impact of the organization. So it's water, energy, carbon efficiency, its environmental management systems. So to what extent your business, regardless whether you produce products or services, consultancy, charity, anything, is environmental. What about the social element? Do you provide equal opportunities to your employees? Health, safety, human rights regulations, child labor. This is the social element. And you have the governance element, business ethics, compliance with different regulations. So ESG, even if you have been looking into investment in the market, ESG, ability of the organization. So many investors would be specifically interested in businesses that have a well-developed ESG management approach. Because what we saw during the quite intense COVID period is that businesses would clearly much better to the challenges of COVID-19. Generally, it provides more agility to organizations because they're already adapted to deliver their services or their products in a lot more flexible approach so they can respond to environmental, social, and management challenges. Some of the benefits of ESG, mentioned some of them, is better anticipation and the management of risks. So whatever happens in this very dynamic external environment, businesses can respond better. It does also reduces general operational risks or supply chain risks. For example, businesses that are invested into fair trade or working closely with their supply chain, usually they have much better relationship with their suppliers. So in case of a supply chain issue, they're in a better position to respond to it. Basically, treating your suppliers better will then bring you benefit when there are supply chain issues. Also, it helps businesses establish better links with local communities. This also gives them a license to operate within these different communities. It can improve conditions, which will also allow them to keep the best talent out there or help them to attract best talent, which then in the long term will allow them to be a lot more competitive. So now, what is the difference between ESG, CSR, and sustainability in general? Sustainability and CSR can be quite broad. When we talk about sustainability and CSR, we can talk about environment, community, consumer rights, human rights, supply chain. So, and it can mean different things for different people, for different businesses. We saw even earlier that generally around the world, sustainability and then CSR may mean different things for different individuals. While ESG is more structured. It is a tool used for consultants, for analysts to judge how businesses perform in terms of their environmental, social impact and how they are governed. So to a certain extent, ESG structures sustainability. It gives us the opportunity to be able to analyze businesses. So it fixes a lot of the challenges for CSR. So while CSR is not standardized and companies can pick what they to share and discuss, companies can't really hide from ESG. Hence, as a framework, it can be a lot more useful to understand businesses. While ESG and CSR are both concerned with the company's impact on society and environment, the major difference is that CSR is a business model used by individual companies, while ESG is a criteria that investors use to assess a company and determine if they are worth investing in. So, why many actual CSR sustainable initiatives fail? And we can see that probably on a not a daily basis, but on a weekly basis, I can come up with few examples that happened just in the last month. Usually they fail because they are not sincere, honest, and genuine. So clearly you can see where the role of PR, communications, and marketing come. So what is the role of PR? Of course, to avoid failing PR initiatives focus on sustainability, it is essential to know your brand and be able to tell the story so it's understood by your audience. When green claims or overall sustainability claims are not honest and not authentic, customers can see through that, especially customers that know your business. So your story needs to be based on honesty. It shouldn't be the case where PR drives sustainability policies or sustainability messages. No, the key is to have a framework, to have a structure of the organization where actually the company develops sustainable projects, change for being greener, for having more social communication. This is to put this message out there, to communicate it to all the key stakeholders. So the main role of PR is the agent of change. Basically, a PR needs to become more dynamic, more proactive in actually working with different players, with different stakeholders within the organization, and actually track what the successes are, what are the PR successes, and go public very quickly so the message is current. The role of PR is not to just put the positive message out there, but to do it in a honest way. Companies do not need to get everything right in terms of sustainability from the first time. The key is to show your journey. Becoming sustainable for many businesses, especially well-established businesses, which do not start operating now. They might have 100-year history behind them. And now they're focused in doing things in a more sustainable manner. It is a great opportunity for communications teams to actually share the journey with the world. Quite often, if you start looking into successful sustainability strategies and campaigns, you would see collaboration between companies and NGOs. Usually, the situation is that companies would have the financial capabilities to invest in sustainability. On the other hand, businesses would have the know-how, how to do it, but they may lack the exposure, they may lack the financial background to actually do this. Hence, collaboration between NGO, Greenpeace, or different charity organizations around the world and corporations can be the right way to approach it. And again, PR can be the linking element, the linking block between for facilitating these partnerships. You should not forget that the overall corporate culture in these NGOs and these businesses is quite different. Generally, these organizations will have quite different objectives as well at the organizational level. So PR can be the teams that actually from both sides make this partnership work. So how do we get sustainability right? Firstly, as in any aspect of communication, is set and communicate in a clear direction on sustainability. So have a clear idea what you're trying to achieve. So feel free to be honest about it as well. There is, as we said, it's a process. So quite often companies, their sustainability journeys can go up and down, but show the journey and be honest about it. Be transparent about your motives. Business needs to pursue business objectives if they want to be sustainable in the long term. So there's no need to pretend that organizations are not driven by profits. Yes, they are. So However, this does not mean that we should not be geared towards doing it in the best possible way that benefits the nature, benefits people, benefits communities around the world. So do not let PR wrap your business motives in sort of some kind of unrealistic idea of that these businesses are there just to do good to the world. No, they need to be profitable while doing good. And as in any other aspect of communication, it's about the story. You are telling a story to the world about your journey as a company.
Sorry, Khalees, you've just cut out there. So everyone just wait and see if his connection comes back.
Drives sustainability to, this is the opposite of being honest and being transparent.
Sorry, Khalees, you just cut out there slightly. Would you mind repeating that bit?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, all good now.
Should I go back?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Which slide?
I think it was that slide. It was only 20 seconds or so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. My internet must be a bit funny.
Okay.
So generally, the idea is that PR should give companies a voice to share their sustainability success. But generally, those sustainability PR should not drive sustainability, because when the focus is on how to kind of make up a story, to put a positive CSR sustainability story out there, this becomes just a marketing tool, and stakeholders, investors, customers can see that. And how can we evaluate our successes? This is where PR teams need to work very closely with other departments within the organization, so you have a combined PR sustainability goals. Of course, on the communication side, we can still look into brand impact, media reach, media coverage, share of voice, the traffic that we get. This is what drives our communication strategies. But we need to combine this with, okay, what do we achieve in terms of sustainability? How did we manage to decrease our carbon emissions? Look at our water, energy usage, the pollution and waste output. Can we achieve circularity or equality and diversity measures that apply to our own stuff? So the approach should be to combine these, and this will give us the overall picture. So we gain benefits from our sustainability strategy in terms of PR, brand recognition, brand awareness, changing perceptions, but at the same time, we actually do good. And focusing on these two types of goals at the same time will make our own teams, our employees, actually feel much better about the place where they work as well, because everyone should be involved in this. Because imagine tracking anything from brand impact to waste and pollution impact, that would require a lot of different people being involved. So everyone would feel that they are part of this same positive journey. However, things do not go as well as we hope. And quite often we end up with something like this. This is actually over the summer. ASOS, Boohoo, and Asda were actually investigated over green claims. What we mean by green claims is they were stating that their products are more environmentally friendly than they were in reality. They were actually, the investigation, when you can see the right-hand side, the gov.uk website, so they're actually properly investigated for these green claims. And this sort of approach actually has negative impact on the business, on sustainability in general, because think about the people who have bought products from these businesses. They have actually chosen to do that because they thought they're choosing the right product. And when they see news like this makes them doubt the transparency of these organizations, but then they will think about all the other businesses, even they're trying to do the right thing. And then that will impact their future product choices, their perceptions of organizations. They will start doubting whether businesses that claim to be sustainable are actually sustainable. And that's really kind of impacts everyone who tries to do the right thing. And what we are talking about here is greenwashing, spending more time and money claiming to be green through advertising and marketing rather than actually implementing business practices that minimize environmental impact. According to the Cambridge Dictionary, greenwashing is designed to make people believe that your company is doing more to protect the environment than it really is. And this is exactly when PR teams or marketing teams, they drive CSR or sustainability strategies without the actual work happening on the background. So CSR should be leading the change in the organization, and the communications should share this positive message and tell the story. While what we see in the example like ASOS, they were very brave to make certain green claims, state that their products are environmentally friendly, recycled, when actually, if you look at their sustainability performance, if you look at their stats in terms of actual environmental metrics, they were not doing that well. And this, of course, is a huge communication and PR issue for these businesses. And actually, ASOS, since that moment in June, July, even on the stock market, have been doing quite badly. And remember, we discussed that many investors, they're looking for ESG investments. So in that context, if your organization, for example, is not honest, not transparent about what they stand for in terms of sustainability, clearly investors as well would be probably pushed away. So when we talk about shades of greenwashing, so what are the different types of greenwashing? We can talk about defending the undefendable. Think about businesses that are in petrol, oil distribution. They still try to make positive claims about who they are, which can be a bit misleading in some cases. Or the example we have the fig leaf, where you do a lot of damage, but you do a bit of charitable donation for some social project or for some sustainable project, and you think that this kind of excuses the fact that the core of your business has a negative impact on the environment. Again, as we discussed earlier, not good enough. Or like in the case of ASOS in Buku, getting your facts wrong.
Sorry again, everyone, we'll just wait for Kalous to come back. Can you hear us at all, Kalous? Sorry, everyone, there's clearly some Wi-Fi issues going on. I will drop Kalous a message and hope he returns shortly. Thank you, everyone, to your patience with this. Sorry about that. Can you hear me, Kalust? Sorry, you're. Oh, I think you're back now, Kalust.
Yeah, I'm back. Yeah, I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yep, yep.
Sorry about that. Where should I go? Should I go back?
I think no, we were on that slide.
Yes.
You were, I think, on the fig leaf.
Yes. So, if example is companies just focusing, or I'm just looking at the question, how long is a very long term in relation to goals? Okay, Jay, great question, Jane. Actually, now I can start answering this as we go. For most businesses, it's fine to set long-term goals. For example, what you want to be by 2030 or 2040. But what businesses should do is have the very long-term goal, but also break it down and report on your achievements every year. So you might have a long-term sustainability strategy for 10, 20 years ahead, but make sure that every year you use a report, what you have achieved, and be honest. If sometimes you miss some of the goals that you have set for this year, just be honest about it and explain what changes you are making to actually next year perform better. So I think the best solution is have a long-term 10-year plan and then break it down into annual performance review sort of thing, and share that, of course, with everyone. And of course, as companies may get things wrong on purpose, but they may actually sometimes do it by accident. And this is where partnerships with NGOs can help, when organizations that have the actual know-how on how to drive sustainability can help you measure. I know Tesco works with, in the UK, they work with WWF, I believe. Lego works with them as well, and they help them track their performance and make the right changes in terms of sustainability. Hedging is quite interesting. KLM, the airline, actually they have been investigating for making green claims, but at the same time supporting businesses, supporting projects that go in the opposite direction in terms of not sustainable business practices. And this all can, it's all transparent nowadays, so it can't be just hidden. So you can imagine negative impact on the business. And ends up on the news, and it can again put organizations in very uncomfortable situations. For example, here we have the greenwashing scam. PR firms face reckoning after spinning for big oil, or activists target proliferation groups for greenwashing fossil fuels. Coca-Cola as well being blamed for greenwashing. And there has been actually a few articles of actual PR agencies that have been trying to greenwash facts, that they will play with the metrics companies put out there, that they will focus only on the positives and ignore a big part of the negative impact of the organization. And this again creates bad name for the businesses and for the sector of sustainability as well. Just puts doubts on the whole spectrum of organizations, businesses, and activities. Protects companies' reputation. Well, it's quite clear. It can strengthen the brand equity and the corporate reputation, especially when we know that customers out there actually care about that. Neglecting sustainability now will cause brand equity, financial, and perception issues in future. Because if you want to be successful in the long term, we need to invest in the right sustainability policies now. and customers care about reputation. Yes, people are pressured by high inflation, by energy costs, but they still would be interested in two things: good customer service and companies that are doing the right thing and that are ethical. And nowadays, we should not forget that customers online and offline, they can talk a lot more. They can to each other, they can talk to businesses, they can keep businesses account. Something as simple as a company putting an Instagram advert or an article somewhere, and then their comments when discussing the ethical side of what they do, whether they're paying the right amount of taxes, or whether they have been involved in child labor, slavery acts issues, or what their negative impact on the environment is. And finally, I know that actually shaping your sustainability approach can be quite a challenge. Quite often, especially to start from scratch, because I spoke to quite a lot of PR and marketing experts where they'll say that if you start from scratch, it's such a broad topic, and it can be quite daunting as a task. What many organizations have done is they basically use the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, or the SDGs, as a framework of what the world is trying to achieve. And then the businesses, all businesses, will basically follow that. These are 17 goals in terms of no poverty, no hunger, making sure people are healthy, education, gender equality, climate action, healthy sea and ocean world, same for on-land world. So many organizations, they will decide to focus on several of these goals. Those goals that will be more relevant to you as a business, depending on your sector, and they will basically guide their sustainability policies and acts with that. So if you feel lost in terms of where you start, you can start from there. And then decide what of these 17 goals is relevant for you. And this would be the base for any sustainability projects. And quite often, if you start from scratch, you can start with a few one-off sustainability runs where you go for changing different processes in your organization, train people within the organization on can make more sustainable choices in their personal and their professional capacity, and then gradually make your way towards having a fully sustainable strategy, and then think how this can become an integral part of your communication. But it's very important to initially think about putting the basis together and then think, okay, how can we communicate that externally rather than the other way around? I think, yeah, sorry about the technical hiccups. I hope I managed to say everything in a way that's understandable. Do you have any questions?
We'll just wait and see if any questions come up. People should be able to use the Q&A to put down any questions if they have any. Just while we're waiting to see if any questions come through, we will be sending out the recording of the webinar and the slide deck next week. So if you do want to go over it, you can do so. Lots of people who have attended today have expressed their interest in studying with us. So if you are interested in studying a PR or a marketing course with us, please do get in touch. I'll put the links in the chat. And I think, we've got a comment from Laura. She says that they use B1G1 to support SDGs through their business goals. She would recommend it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are many certificate schemes out there, or I think in the UK, a lot of businesses take the B Corp approach, where it's kind of a sustainability certification. So yeah, any sort of standardization that can help you form your sustainability thinking can help.
Okay, great. Well, I've I just put our email address and the link to our CIPR courses in the chat. Okay, well, if there aren't any other questions, thank you very much to everyone who's joined today. I hope you found it interesting and useful. Thank you again to Kalust. That was brilliant. Oh, I think no, that's I think that's everything. Okay, well, lovely. Well, thank you very much to everyone who's joined, and thank you to Kalust. You'll receive the recording early next week. Okay, we'll finish it off there. So thank you again, everyone. Hope you all have a lovely weekend.